The whisper that brought down a senator. Picture this. A single sentence whispered in a crowded cafeteria. 5 seconds that would topple a U.S. senator and expose a web of corruption worth millions. This isn't fiction. This is a story of how Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett turned a lunchroom rumor into one of the most devastating political takedowns in recent history. The whisper. It started on a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic ever starts on a Tuesday, right? Jasmine Crockett was having lunch in the Rayburn cafeteria. Plastic trays, loud chatter, the usual Capitol Hill chaos. Then she heard it, a voice barely louder than the clink of a spoon. He's got money in it. That's why they got the contracts. 5 seconds. 1 sentence. No names mentioned. But something about those words made the air around her freeze. Now, here's what you need to know about Jasmine Crockett. She doesn't chase headlines. She chases patterns. So instead of running to the media like most politicians would, she did something far more dangerous. She decided to investigate. The pattern emerges. Over the next few days, Crockett made quiet calls to 3 staffers she trusted, each from different corners of the Capitol. They all had one thing in common. They worked on oversight reviews that kept mentioning the same name, Marco Rubio. Not always directly, but close enough. Defense contracts, logistics payments, consulting firms that didn't exist 6 months ago. One staffer sent her a chilling message. "You're not crazy." We called it the Rubio line in our office. Stuff that magically got fast-tracked. Crockett didn't reply. She just stared at her screen and opened a new folder. She was building a case, piece by piece. The anonymous tip. Then something happened that changed everything. A letter arrived, not at her office, but at Union Station, inside a manila envelope. Printed emails, an internal memo with dates circled, and a photo of someone she didn't recognize standing next to someone she definitely did. The anonymous sender left a handwritten note. "I've seen too much. I don't want to be part of it. You'll know what to do." Now she had more than a whisper. She had something real, and that meant it was time to bring in Vaughn. The underground investigation. Vaughn wasn't staff. He wasn't a lawyer. He was something else entirely. Years ago, he'd worked in internal auditing for a defense subcommittee until a document leak rattled too many cages. Now he worked alone in the shadows. Crockett sent him one line, "Meet me tonight. Bring the scanner." They met in a side room beneath the Library of Congress. No cameras, no lights, just 2 chairs, a laptop, and one envelope on the table. What they found wasn't obvious at first. One payment looked like consulting fees, another a logistics contract with no clear delivery record. But Vaughn spotted something. A sequence of wire transfers through a shell company registered in Delaware. And then the name, hidden deep in a signature authorization. Shoreline Consulting. Vaughn blinked. That name hadn't come up in years. After digging through archive filings, they discovered the company's origin address traced back to a property once owned by a cousin of Senator Marco Rubio. The whisper had become a trail. The smoking gun. 3 days later, the Real bombshell arrived. A message landed in Crockett's secure inbox with no subject line, just a file link and 6 words. "You'll want to see all of it." She clicked, and her screen lit up with a folder titled Shoreline Docs FAL. Inside were hundreds of documents, internal emails from defense subcontractors, payment authorizations, memos marked "Do Not Circulate," and a compressed audio file named only RubioClip.wave. Crockett called Vaughn. No greeting, just one instruction. "Bring coffee. Bring the printer. You're not going home tonight." By 7 p.m., they were back in their underground room. Pages spread out, laptops open, the printer spitting page after page. The emails laid all out. A contracting firm called Asheville Defense Logistics had received priority contracts through undocumented urgency channels. Every time funding was expedited, one name appeared in BCC fields and internal messages. Shoreline Consulting. In one particular memo, a project manager wrote, "Senator says, we need it fast-tracked. Make it happen." They printed that line 3 times and highlighted it twice, just to be sure it was real. The financial trail was damning. Several payments, each just under the reporting threshold, had bounced from Ashwell to Shoreline, then into an offshore entity in the Bahamas. One transfer memo noted consulting fees for expedited approvals. Another just said clearance pipeline priority tier. But the real smoking gun was in the metadata. One PDF showed a digital signature from a staffer login in Senator Rubio's office. Then came the audio file. They listened once, then again. It was scratchy, low quality, clearly recorded during a phone call, but the voice was unmistakable. If Rubio says it goes, it goes. By 4:20 a.m., Crockett leaned back, eyes locked on the wall. She didn't look angry. She looked ready. "We've got enough," she said. Vaughn nodded. "Now you just have to decide when to drop it." She didn't answer, but she already knew. The revelation. The hearing room was packed. Reporters leaned forward. Staffers whispered, but Jasmine Crockett didn't pause. She walked in with a red binder clip, holding exactly 74 pages. Every line cross-checked, every name time-stamped. When the chair said, "Congresswoman Crockett, you have the floor," she didn't clear her throat or thank the committee. She simply began. "You're not expected to believe anything until you read the documents." She slid packets forward, one for the clerk, one for the committee counsel, and one she held up for the cameras. The headline page read, "Shoreline Consulting, Undisclosed Transfers and Conflict Indicators." Then she played the audio. The room changed. That scratchy, rough recording filled the air. "If Rubio says it goes, it goes." No music, no cuts, just that sentence hanging like a thunderclap. Crockett leaned forward. "This isn't a theory. It's a timeline, a payment trail, and a repeated pattern of approval tied to one office." She pointed to the memo. "Make it happen." That phrase had been used 6 times in 6 different contracts, all fast-tracked, all linked back to the same shell company. Then she held up the digital signature log, showing authentication from a congressional staffer terminal. She didn't name the staffer. She didn't have to. This is not personal. This is procedural. But if we ignore it, it becomes systemic. Her final slide was devastating. A chart connecting payments, contracts, Shoreline Consulting, and offshore transfers. Clean, simple, brutal. The chair asked what she was formally requesting. She didn't hesitate. 3 things. First, full document review by the Committee on Oversight. Second, immediate referral of all materials to the Department of Justice. Third, a temporary hold on all Ashwell-related defense contracts until this review is complete. The weight in the room shifted. And just as the chair began to respond, Crockett added, "This isn't about catching someone. It's about reminding every office in this building that someone is still watching." The backlash. Within 24 hours, the machine roared to life. Headlines started soft. Unverified allegations against Senator Rubio. But by the second day, it got uglier. They weren't questioning the documents anymore. They were questioning her. Clips of Crockett were spliced out of context. Old footage of fiery committee exchanges was reframed as anger issues. One outlet ran a segment titled, "Is this oversight or overreach?" The Rubio team hired crisis PR consultants. Paid influencers repeated one line, "This isn't about corruption. It's a political hit job." Behind the scenes, staffers warned her, "Back off. They're not coming after your evidence. They're coming after your name." But Jasmine didn't flinch. She'd seen this play before. So she did what they didn't expect. She released a video. No music, no editing tricks. Just Jasmine Crockett sitting at a desk, looking directly into the camera. You can attack the messenger. You can spin the motive. But you cannot erase the facts. She held up the same binder, turned the pages one by one as she spoke. Every payment time stamped, every contract signed, every document available to the public. Then came the line that broke through the noise. Noise doesn't change facts, and I'm still holding the truth. The clip went viral, not because it was bold, but because it was calm. No shouting, no panic. Just the quiet certainty of someone who had already checked the math and knew it would hold. The fall. The vote was 71 to 25. Decisive. The kind of number that says this isn't politics anymore. This is conclusion. No applause, no shouting, just the quiet, uncomfortable sound of power moving. Jasmine Crockett sat near the back with no notes, no press at her side. She didn't smile. She didn't stand. She just watched as the digital board blinked once, then showed Rubio, Florida, and the line vanished. Some who voted with her wouldn't meet her eyes. Others nodded barely. One reporter described her as looking like a pressure valve had just clicked shut. But if you looked close, you could see something else. Not relief, not revenge, resolve. The real truth. But here's where the story gets really interesting. In Jasmine's folder, the one with the red clip, there were still pages left unspoken, and one of them had 3 letters at the top, CM. Vaughn stared at it. Rubio was a tool, he said quietly. The person giving the orders is still in the shadows. Crockett didn't blink. She closed the folder and looked straight ahead. We're not done. Because this story was never just about Rubio. It wasn't just about backroom deals or offshore money or one senator's fall. It was about what happens when someone asks a question they're not supposed to ask. About what it takes to hold power accountable, not with noise, but with truth. And it was about a system that still can answer if someone refuses to look away. So if you thought the story ended here, look closer. Because CM is waiting, and Jasmine Crockett just turned the page.